Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Bradshaw. I'm from Liberty University at the Cafe Department. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Web 2.0 tools. Today we have the 21st century learner. These learners play video games, they communicate using text messaging, they conduct internet researches, they download music, they share files. They are working in collaboration with other people. It used to be that students sat at a desk all by themselves with a computer monitor in front of them. They would put in software, they would follow the directions on the screen, and they basically worked in isolation. But today, with Web 2.0 tools, they can work in collaboration with students in another classroom, throughout the school, throughout the country, and even across the world if they choose to do so. There are no limitations using Web 2.0 tools except what our imagination can give us. The 21st century learner, they are no longer the people our educational system was designed to teach. In the 1950s, when we taught students, they basically got a textbook. They had papers and pencils that were issued to them, and they had to go through the textbook, take notes on, and then study for tests from those notes and take a paper test from that. But in today's society, it can be virtually paperless. Students don't have to have a textbook. They can use an e-book. They don't have to lug around those big heavy backpacks. They can take tests online, they can take tests with student response systems, they can do a variety of things, none of which involves paper. The world that they are in when they are outside the classroom is so different from the world that they are in the classroom. And today we really need to get those two atmospheres, those two environments the same for students so that they will be in a learning environment that's similar to the environment that they have at home. Teachers today can pretty much be described as digital immigrants. We did not grow up with all of the great 2.0 tools that they have today. Some of us, came from a society where television was just coming into play. Many of our families had black and white televisions, and some families didn't even have a television at that time. Some of us came into play during the time of color television. We still got up and had to change the channels on the TV. There were dials. We didn't even have a remote control. So we are suddenly thrown into this world where students play video games, they talk to each other online, they can use Facebook, they can use Twitter, they know how to blog, they know how to do podcasting, and we're kind of at a disadvantage. The students today are the digital natives. They know how to handle all of this technology, and our job is to get them into that same world and enhance what they do. And it's basically a process where we have to learn together with one another. We are going to have to learn from them as well as try to teach them. So it's a different kind of a process. We are not just the teacher anymore, but we are a teacher that comes alongside as a learner with our students. Web 1.0 was basically application-based. Students worked in isolation, offline. They had a lot of products that were licensed or purchased. Single creation. Whatever they did online was for a single person. The copyrighted content is the content that they used. But today with Web 2.0, what students are using is web-based, it's collaborative, they're working more online, it's free, they can collaborate with multiple people, and they can share content. If a student wants to, they can use a wiki space. A wiki space is a great design, for instance. You can have people from 4 different departments, for example. You can have an instructional designer, You can have a library media specialist, a student, a classroom teacher, who can all collaborate on a project at the same time by using a PV wiki space. They can all add comments, they can blog together, they can also put up a document and share that document and add their comments to a written work as well. When we were in the Web 1.0 society, we were in a society where very, very few people were actually using the web. But today, in a 10-year span, there's so many more people that are using the web because of the Web 2.0 processes that are involved. Things have changed, and people are more interested in using those tools than they were in the past. Part of what we really have to train young people for today is actually engaging in the digital world. They need to have these tools so they can compete in the job market. It's almost a thing of the past now to go down to a local store, put an application in, and wait for someone to call. The jobs of the future are really going to be engaged over the internet. People are shopping on the internet now, making their purchases. We don't really see as much shopping going on in the malls and in private stores as much as it's going on the internet. Business is really done through the internet. Even telephone conversations are done through the internet. So there isn't quite as much face-to-face observation for students. They really have to be able to engage in internet activities so that they can compete in the job market today. It used to be, if we think back to the one-room schoolhouse, it used to be that students were using certain tools in order to be educated. And some people say, are we just putting new labels on some of the same designs that we had at the onslaught of education? And the answer to that in many ways is yes. If you do think back to the one-room schoolhouse, you'll find that there were student response systems. They had a slate, they had a slate board, they had a sock, and when the teacher asked them to write down 5 times 7 to see if the answer was correct, students held up the slate board, and the teacher could walk around the classroom and they could decide whether or not the students understood the material being learned. Today, we can do all of that electronically. We have smart boards, we have active boards, we have electronic whiteboards that are being used, and there are a variety of student response systems that people can use, and students can basically do the same thing. Actually, another really great example of what students can do today, they can set up a GCast. Every student pretty much today has a cell phone. We're always fighting those cell phones in the classroom. Why not give them an opportunity to learn using cell phones instead of that fighting process? Students can, through the internet, they can punch in numbers, they can punch in letters, use texting. They can send those all into a GCast, bring up the internet site, and these can be the answers to their questions. These can be the student responses that they had years ago when they were using the slate board and the slate and the sock. So it is kind of a new label to the same design that we used to have before. There are some other Web 2.0 tools that students can use. They can use social networking, social bookmarking, photo sharing, video showcasing, word processing. They can use spreadsheets and search engines. So I hope you enjoyed this few minutes of a conversation that we're having on Web 2.0 tools. I hope that you find this information valuable to you. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to add those questions in the discussion board and Blackboard whenever you are ready to do your threads and your postings. And thank you for your time.